All those stories about murders and ghosts.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I'm scared.
Do you believe in evil spirits?
2 kids were killed out there. One kid was gutted and slashed to death. The other microwaved.
Do you believe in haunted houses?
There are many houses on this foundation. All of them and their tenants come to bad ends.
Or do you think it's all just silly superstition?
I will not die!
Maybe you had better think again.
Too late? Has it already started?
For if you enter this house, you won't come out alive. Superstition! You won't know who, or what, or why, until it's too late. Superstition! You should have believed.
All right, we're here for a very special episode of 1982. We're here with Moodz. What's up, Moodz?
Chilling like a villain, man. What's going on?
Now, first time he's technically been on the show. So from 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror, we're here to do Superstition, the 1982 classic. So yeah, it's kind of a low budget movie here. Originally shot in 1981. Got a release in Italy, of all places, and I've seen some places that say it might have been released minor theatrically places, but I can't confirm where it was. And it got a wide release in 85. I had a VHS around that time. So yeah, this is kind of a strange one. I'm going by the Italian release date here of 82. It had a sequel, unofficial sequel in 1989 called Superstition 2, which is Witch Story from Italy, 89. But yeah, this is directed by James Roberson, I believe, who didn't really direct much more. He had worked with Charles B. Pierce from The Town That Dreaded Sundown. He was actually the DP on that movie and stuff like that. So let's hop into this. It's a fairly generic kind of haunted house, possession style, haunted house kind of slasher witch movie, I guess is what you'd call it. Moodz is the only guy in the world with the Superstition shirt, by the way.
That's a great scene.
It is probably the best scene of the movie.
Yeah, like the whole history of this film is really interesting. Like you said, it was shot in 81, released minorly in 82, and like Wikipedia and some other sources, it does say that it was released in Italy. And it's funny too, because the director really didn't even know. They showed it to the cast and crew, and it just didn't get picked up. It didn't have any type of, he thought, release or whatever. But he does go on to say that they actually did show it. And the way I interpreted what he was saying was, so after they did show it, it did show, I guess, in New York and maybe in Chicago or something like that. He's like 100%, and then it just disappeared. So then before it got its video release in 1985, which is so crazy. It's so crazy that it didn't get any type of distribution until like 3 years later. And by that time, like this type of genre, like this slasher supernatural genre, wasn't really around too much in 85. It was an odd time to release the movie, but he did say it showed, like, I think in LA one time, and then it just got this minor distribution through. I can't remember the VHS company that actually did a wide release for it, but
I don't remember the VHS, but the theatrical was kind of a big deal from a company we know as alumni, Almy company, who did the House by the Cemetery promotion. That's why the trailer has Brother Theodore, which is one of the funniest. It's like Superstition. The guy who ran that company came from New World and stuff, and he was the guy responsible for putting the art films from New World, the Bergman movies, Cries and Whispers. Otherwise, that probably would have never got distroed. So that's probably the most interesting thing about the movie is Frank Marino. his story and everything about that, how he realized he pushed this movie and stuff come from all those different backgrounds and stuff. And this, I don't know if it was VHS in 85 or a theatrical in 85. It's really kind of foggy for me.
Well, he does say he figures that it showed once theatrical, maybe in Los Angeles, and then it just fell out of that. Like he said, it might have been one night showing, and then it went straight to video. And then that's how people kind of got formally, introduced to the film, really, because not a lot of people had seen it up to that point. And like I said, it was a weird time, but also probably a little bit more of the right time. The supernatural slasher really wasn't a thing in 1982. There was only a couple films prior. You think so? If we take 78 as kind of the start of the of the slasher film as we know, like the formula that we know. Sure. In 1981, when this was filming, how many supernatural slasher films did we really have? Like, I can think of maybe Tourist Trap, maybe The Boogeyman. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of...
Ghost Keeper a slasher, but I never did. That's supernatural, but it's not a slasher.
It's not a slasher. It is supernatural, but I wouldn't really say it's a slasher. It kind of plays out like one, but not really. But, really, there wasn't a lot of supernatural films up to the point this was even filming. So it's kind of, in a sense, ahead of its time. But we all know in 1984, the big one came.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
From 82. And that's the big supernatural. And that's precursor to Nightmare too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Slayer's one film that I do don't watch that movie at like 4 a.m. when you're doing a 24-hour marathon. It's a little slow.
It's not a marathon movie. I'm a big fan, but it's not a marathon movie. Yeah, the concept is so cool that you're taken by the concept, but the pacing is like it's very meticulous but well done. It's like a doom and gloom. It's like a constant doom coming at you, and if you lose interest, you're gonna be like, I don't give a shit about this house.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's a strange one. This is a strange one because, on paper, I would never call it a slasher, but it is most definitely a slasher film. But it also plays like Amityville. Like, we're moving seconds. It's like 2 movies. It's like a slasher, and then we're like, let's move this family in. I don't know. Do you want to tackle the plot, or do you just want to kind of freestyle it?
Basically, the movie opens up, and it opens up like your stereotypical slasher film from that era. Like, they weren't doing really anything against the norm. It opens up with a couple in a car making out. And instead of that couple getting dead, we have a couple other characters that join in the affairs, and they play a prank on them. They throw out some kind of clown thing, and they scare the shit out of this couple. And the couple actually fucks off. Like, they get out of there, and they actually survive. They don't even die. So instead of the stereotypical thing happening, the couple having the bad sex, dying, it's actually not them. Anyways, these 2 goof-offs, they make their way into this abandoned house that has a history, and they know it has a history. It's not even new to them. The house has been vacant for they say 50 years, and it has this crazy history.
So let me ask you this. So it's 1982. It's been vacant for 50 years. Who the fuck put a microwave in it? When were microwaves invented? The 50s?
They actually explain it away a little bit in the film, because the cop even says, he's like, man, I'm so tired of dealing with this house because people are using it as a dumping ground. Now, it doesn't explain why the house had fucking power. If it's been abandoned for 50 years, it could have a microwave in it, but it wouldn't have power to run the microwave.
Power. She did telekinesis to run the fucking mic. She had to.
So maybe, but there is actually lights on
it to chicken up microwave or chicken nuggets and shit.
Right. So there is random lights within the place too, which is kind of crazy. But anyways, they go into this house, and they end up dying in 2 actually pretty fun ways. I mean, up to this point,
maybe the best deaths.
Yeah, up to this point in horror, I don't recall too many deaths being involving microwaves up to when they were filming this in 81. And this is the opening shit that they actually shot. The director talks about this. They had this idea for this film, and to get more funding, these guys were willing to give them $8,000 to shoot something. So they shot this opening scene, which is fantastic, right? It's really and they did it for under $8,000, and that's kind of what sold them to other producers to get the money to make the rest of the film. So they kind of wigged out on that opening scene, and they did something really cool, which was not overly a big thing. When did Evil Laugh come out? Evil Laugh was after, right? It's got the microwave.
Evil Laugh would have to be in the mid 80s.
It's 86 or something like that. So it's way later. And I always remember that movie having a really funny microwave death scene in it too. And of course, Microwave Massacre.
But that's not the same. The microwave's as big as this room.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the joke.
It's the stupidest fucking thing ever.
Putting whole bodies in there.
Can you imagine being at the video store back then and be like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Microwave Massacre, and then you take a Microwave Massacre as the biggest mistake of your fucking life?
Yeah, that movie's so funny. Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, so these guys, so one guy gets killed through a microwave. He gets decapitated, and his head actually blows up in a microwave, which actually looks pretty cool. In the second death, the guy tries to escape out a window, and of course the witch takes control of that situation and kind of cuts him in half. And it's a cool scene actually, because his legs land in the house and his torso lands on the ground like 2 stories down, and it kind of edits itself back and forth between the legs moving and his body. It's kind of cool.
It's a really good effect. It's solid.
Yeah. So basically this happens, and then we get kind of like a cop procedural. We get these cops that come in there and, okay, like they know about this place, they know about the history and stuff like that, but what's going on is the church is like in financial disarray right now. They need to figure out a way to get some funds and stuff like that, and the church actually owns the property that this house is on. I guess they own the property too, or I mean they own the house too. So basically what they're going to start using the house for is to house the new reverend that's coming in, until they can place him in a different, probably a better situation. One that's not being, that doesn't have a killer witch on the loose killing your whole fucking family.
They use this is where it becomes Amityville. And like, they even have like the father who has a substance abuse, this old, like, he's the biggest piece of shit in the movie. He's such a bitch. The father that they move in, and he's just like, oh, like if you look back at this guy, like he had a decent career. He played sports. And he's like a handsome dude. Like when I was looking through the credits, I was like, who the fuck's this guy? I don't remember this guy. And I click on him and I realized it's the old drunk. I was like, man, he's not aging well. But he's a ridiculous character. And he's like from a different generation when he's talking. He's like, Dad, are you okay? He's like, I'm fine, son.
I know. He's such a weird character because he's supposed to be like, this guy that's potentially, like, I don't even know how to describe, like, that this guy is an alcoholic. It just seems like they do without going nuts. Like, but he's obviously got major issues. Like he has no control over his family. His one daughter fucking hates him. His wife doesn't seem to like she wants anything. He's kind of a pussy in itself, but like he's going to be taking over the reverend job in this church once they place him into a different house. Well, I'm like, it's just such a weird concept, but that's really what the setup is. It's like, we get these murders that happen and we get these cops that go to the house, and we get introduced to, which is actually an add-on to the film, which I learned. The lead in the film in his interview said that when they originally watched the film, these parts actually weren't part of the film. So they added in the creepy old lady that's staying in the bungalow next door. And she's got a son that's kind of like disabled a little bit and stuff like that. And the narrative that they came up with this was like, her husband was also like a keeper of some mistress or something like that. And like the son was doing that work now. It doesn't even really make a lot of sense.
I do want to mention the big guy, Arlen. Looking up through his credits, he was in Surf 2, and he's in my favorite scene. That's the only reason I recognized it, is he's in the scene with the guy from Popcorn. Remember Popcorn, the killer in Popcorn? He has a scene where they have this eating competition, and they eat that big pile of sea shit that wash the shore. Yeah. He's the big guy in that, and he's so much better in Surf 2 because his performance is really bizarre in this. Like, I don't know. He's just like, it's an awkward performance, an awkward character.
Well, his character is supposed to be awkward because he is supposed to be mentally disabled, but his performance is like, I feel like I think they probably shot all those scenes with the old lady and him like very close in proximity, and like you didn't really have a lot of knowledge of what was really going on, so his performance doesn't really fit. It does, but it doesn't. But it's just the narrative that they come up with with her staying in there and like how they were like a keeper of the mistress, which is referring to the witch and stuff. And I'm like, they're doing what? Honestly, what's doing the witch was the cross that was in the water.
Yeah.
The priest that comes, and when they're investigating these murders and stuff like that, I should mention that when these two cops show up and they're investigating these things, actually one of the cops ends up getting dead too. So, and then that's when they find this cross in the water, which plays into like the backstory with the witch. The witch was, she was basically she killed a little girl, and she was sent to death for her crimes and stuff like that. She was actually dubbed as a witch, which turns out she kind of was.
Yeah, so I mean that's a rarity. That's what a lot of these Italian movies would be like. They'll be like, Catholicism's fucked up. This is an Italian one, but then they'll be like, but they actually are witches, and you're like, what is happening here? Like, I don't. But understand.
It's a really interesting portrayal of a witch, though, because a lot of witches in films it almost seems like she's demonically possessed. I mean, when she's up on the stake and they use the balloon effect on her head, like, and her voice starts changing, she literally says, I'm the daughter of Satan. And shit, like, it's crazy. It's like she's being possessed and being forced to say that shit. Like, in demon possession films, you get possessed and you start doing some crazy shit, like killing kids and stuff like that.
Through the possession, you start bubbling up and shit.
Yeah. So, and I love actually the backstory scene where the witch does meet her demise. It's actually really cool. I think what they they accomplished in the film was actually quite impressive, because I think those were shot after the fact kind of too. Wasn't in the original narrative. Like, they weren't going to do that.
I'm really curious to see the original cut and see if it's slow as molasses. Like the original actor, like I don't want to be a dick. He passed away last year. His character is super bland. He is so milquetoast. James Houghton. He just doesn't do much for me. He's just a very generic character in it. He was he started from like the like romance stories, Young and the Restless, but he actually like became a writer. He was a writer for that show, and he wrote like 1,800 episodes of Young and the Restless and shit. So like he pigeoned out of acting and was a writer. So
yeah, because he was on as a lead or a side character in one of those kind of our daytime what was it? It wasn't Dallas, but it was like one of those shows. But yeah, he came from that acting. Then you're right, he transitioned into just strictly writing, which he won a ton of like daytime Emmys for and stuff. But like you can almost see like his portrayal of this character. But he even said in the interview too, like there wasn't really much to the character. He didn't have any quirks. He wasn't an excited person. He didn't really have anything special about his character. So he just kind of played it straight. And you can tell in the performance, it's very, very straight. It's very bland. There's nothing to it kind of thing. So there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about in the interview. Did you watch the one interview? Yeah. So
there's 2 interviews, one with the director, one with the actor. The one with the actor, he barely talks about this movie. He talks a lot about his career and stuff. It's almost like a career retrospective, and the sound is so quiet. He's like whispering. He's like, it's like, fucking turn up your sound, Scream Factory. Jesus Christ, get this guy a mic. I wish my favorite character, I think the best performance in the movie is Albert Salmi. I think he's, classic character. He's in a bunch of TV and stuff, and you recognize him right away. The cop, he's got all the best lines. He comes across the best. He seems honestly like the most genuinely real actor in here. He's got some good lines too. He's like, "You're an idiot with the," or whatever it is, like, "and you're an old bag." He starts arguing with the lady and stuff. He's great.
Right. I like. Actually, we should mention the Reverend. Henry Mayer, he's actually played by Stacy Keach Sr. In the film, which is really interesting. So
he's got the best death besides the opening 2 characters for sure, and it's like ridiculous. Everyone's just like, "Oh no!"
I really love the fact that he signed up for this film. Like, he's only in the first maybe half an hour of the film. I mean, he's kind of like the mentor to, our lead character and stuff like that. And they show up at this house and he knows that there's something wrong. And like, that's the whole part of the movie that really cracks me up. The narrative is that they know, like, this guy's been around for a long time and he knows the full history of this house. He's like, every time we put someone in this house, they end up dead, like the whole family. And I'm like, what do you think is going to change this time around? Like, it's such a funny thing that everybody knows what's going on in this house and nothing's ever changed. But they put this family in there anyways.
People in there. Like, they just give the drunk priests so they get rid of them. That's where the church for years have been putting all the pedophiles. They just live here for a couple days and then they just disappear and they just sweep it under the rug. But honestly, you think if anybody was superstitious enough to actually do something about it, it would be a group of priests. Yet they have a cop and some cop in there trying to work out what's going on here. And the whole, like, it's not a subplot, but it's just basically a huge chunk of the story. Like, we got to find this secret room, and they're just like tearing apart walls looking for a room half the movie.
But it still doesn't, like, I don't know, maybe it's the way they edited, but when they actually do find that secret room that's like hiding underneath some grass and twigs and shit outside, like, how the fuck did they even find that out there in the first place? Like,
well, they were banging on the wall. They literally tore down a wall to get there. But like, it's a weird scene.
It is a weird scene because it's like all of a sudden they're outside and they're like by this tree and stuff. And actually, it actually does kind of look cool the way they did it and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like, yeah, it's got this police investigative thing and stuff like that. And it's like, it is what it is. But you're right, though. The cop does probably have the best lines in the film. And I just find it really interesting that Stacy Keach Sr. actually did this film because, like, he was a well-accomplished actor, been around forever, and is probably, he's one of those guys that probably started out doing things like this, but then didn't give a fuck at the end of his career because he'd already accomplished himself. Like, they even talked about in the interview how, like, he didn't have anything to prove. He was there and he was down for whatever. And like, he had probably one of the more creative deaths in the film anyways. Like, it's pretty awesome what they did with his death scene. So, I mean, if you're going to be that accomplished actor, you might as well go out with a bang. But it's pretty good power saw scene. And that's one thing I will give this film. There's a few things within the narrative. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm not really a big fan of like the old lady and her son kind of subplot. It doesn't really add anything except for a little bit of screen time, which, this movie doesn't overstay its welcome anyways. It only runs about 85 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of screen time away. Mostly is about our priest, our lead character, that, you know, isn't really believing at first, but then he becomes a believer and he starts more of the investigation. Like there's kind of two investigations happening, right? He wants to find out the backstory and stuff like that. But really what sells the film for me is the kills. The body count runs about 15 in this movie. I think there's only maybe 2 off screen. Unfortunately, fortunately, they did have the balls to kill a 12-year-old kid in this film. Yeah. It wasn't a scene kill on screen, but they do later show his body hang, which I do think that is pretty interesting. They did take some shit over that. Apparently there was some backlash to that. For killing kids at that time was a little bit taboo. I think it's funny as hell. I think it shows a lot of balls, because
he doesn't have much character in the movie either.
Yeah, and it
famous actor though. It's Billy Jacoby. It's Curtis from Bloody Birthday and Nightmares and stuff. He's been a bunch of shit. So it's like to see him pop up and not have any real lines, to just walk in a basement, get pulled off. I was like, that's weird.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like his character dies so early in the movie too. You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think that. But I mean, if you look at it this way, like if his character had survived, it would have been so ballsy or ballless, because they literally told the audience that every single person that's lived in this house has died. So if the kid lives, then it just makes it even worse. But killing him off first, I was like, damn, they got some balls in this thing, man. It's kind of cool. But yeah, so yeah, the kill scenes, I think they did a really good job with the practical effects. But yeah, I mean, every time I watch this film, I'm like, damn, dude, there's a lot of death scenes.
There's a lot of deaths. And I forgot about the fucking nail in the head. That one's pretty graphic. That's probably the one. I know it ended up on the Section 3 Video Nasties list. I'd say that did it. That and the child kill. But the kills are really strong, and it's really mean-spirited. It's definitely a carryover from the 70s. It's not one of these ones where it's like goofy or funny. It doesn't really feel in tone. I mean, like the style does, the way they kill and how fast-paced and slasher. But how they kill people, how many people get killed, who gets killed, it's mean-spirited in that. The problem with some of it is, though, it gets aggravating towards the end when the father's like, go check that out for me. He's like, no! The wife goes down. And she fucking, then he's no. He
literally says, no, but he told me to stay and just watch. I'm like, oh my God, dude, who cares? Like, you're the father. You're supposed to be
go down there. Both people go down there. Don't separate. Stop separating. And people just keep doing like, it got some like crappy writing towards the end when the one girl's like, they all rush down and literally 2 feet away. And then she's like, I'm going to go back. And I'm like, stop it. Stop it.
It does annoy me that the blonde daughter, who you think is probably going to survive, ends up dead in the van, but you don't see that at all. Like she just ends up getting, well, I mean, kind of, I guess, but not really. But one thing I will say though, there's a lot of films, slasher film, just general horror films in general, they, you don't see it very often where no one survives.
Not too often, no. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in 1982 that's like that. Basket case, maybe?
Like, I mean, the way I look at it, the way I look at it is like, well, these guys are, well, this is like a one and done thing. We have no bones about making a sequel kind of thing. We'll let the Italians do that. Usually, and it's funny too, because usually the unofficial sequels to these American horror films have really nothing to do. They're name and only kind of thing. But it's funny when you watch Witch Story, it's like, it could actually be a sequel. It's very similar. It's so similar in the fact that it literally has a witch, but it has a little daughter that looks creepy. Like, it has all these elements, even the elements of a bunch of kids kind of, well, instead of, in this movie, it's a family, but kids go to a place, fix it up, blah, blah, blah. And they inherit, like, there's so many similarities. They kind of almost remade the movie, which is so rare for Italians. Like, it's usually a name and only just to sell it, because this movie was released in Italy as The Witch.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's a Witch Story, but.
So I think that Witch Story is a lot like this. Also meet Night of the Demons. And it feels 110% like all those really cheap late 80s like Fulci, Lenzi, and Phil Mirage movies that were just like pushed out, like, like Spring Break, Welcome to Spring Break, all those kind of movies like that. It has that cheap quality to it. But it's actually surprisingly really fun and completely raunchy, and just like the dialogue. It's like all the characters from like a badly acted sex comedy.
You know what I like about Witch Story? Like, the first time I watched it last year, and it was like one of my favorite releases last year from Vineyards, because it's a movie I had really not heard of, to be honest. And it didn't have really any type of release. It was one of those things that came out just got buried. It just got buried with specters. Like these movies never got any love, but the features, they do talk about how they did get a little bit more money for it. And you can see that it might have had a little bit of money. I mean, the kill count in that movie is pretty high too. I wouldn't say the kills are better than Superstition at all.
It's surprisingly gory lists. It's not that gory. It's weird.
What I said when I reviewed the film on the Sin Bin podcast was, I think there was a missed opportunity in the pool scene with the chainsaw. I think if they had man, that could have been such a great scene, because the way she throws him through the window is a great scene too. He lands.
He goes right through the wall. I think he goes through the wall. Yeah. It's totally awesome scene. And then she's also jumps in there and she's got this chainsaw, which doesn't really make a lick of fucking sense if you know anything about chainsaws. She doesn't even have the chainsaw. She just pops up in the water with it. You're like,
first of all, where did the chainsaw even come from? Secondly, that thing is not starting or running underneath the water, and she like digs into it. But if they had have gotten really gory in that scene, that would have just kind of changed. I think the biggest gore scene is actually kind of a hallucination scene where dude somehow ends up on this farm tractor thing and runs over the little girl, which is, kind of a hallucination. But like you do see a little bit of gore and blood and stuff but for a body count as high as Witch Story, it's not that gory. It really isn't. Superstition definitely takes the cake, which is interesting because a lot of Italian films, especially from that time, there were some decent kills. There's some decent kills. So in those films, but I just feel like this one had a little bit more budget, but it's overall super, super fun, man. It's just a rare oddity that they would make a sequel that is very relative to the original source material. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, just going back to the opening scene and the score in the movie in Superstition is, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but the last time I watched this movie, which was when the Scream Factory Blu-ray came out a couple years back, and I remember watching it going, fuck, man, if you isolated the strings in the music of the score, it's The Shining. It's the same strings used in The Shining. I was like, oh my God. And then when you get the creepy little girl in the dress and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many similarities. Obviously, there's going to be influences. Like a lot of horror films are influenced by the past and stuff. But I mean, that movie was relatively new to the point of them filming this too. Like 1970, I think they filmed it in 79, right? It came out in 80. But anyways, 81. This movie comes out and it's like, it's got this kind of Shining undertones to it that I'm picking up on. And I'm like, that's pretty crazy. But I mean,
it's got some Amityville in there too, for sure. It's very similar to House by the Cemetery, which is kind of a Shining inspired movie itself.
Yeah, it totally is. And actually, when they promoted this film, I think it was the same company that did House by the Cemetery, and they even promoted it with that thing too. So
the brother Theodore, for sure.
It makes a lot of sense that they did that, because that actually goes hand in hand for sure. Yeah.
Well, in the Fangoria, I was reading it about this movie, talking about, with Frank Marino, and they're talking about like the just like advertising House by the Cemetery, and they said they shot a bunch of Reese did a bunch of stuff. They said the movie originally had canned music, and I'm like, I don't fucking remember any of that shit in House by the Cemetery. Do you? Like, did they change the score in the original VHS? I knew one of the reels was fucked up in House by the Cemetery, right? That's the one that had one of the reels in the wrong spot on VHS. So was that always out of order? Is that the one? I think it was. It must be. But I don't remember them shooting anything for it or changing anything fucking around.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm not interested.
It just seems different. It didn't seem likely, because I've never really seen, I know that Seven Doors of Death or Beyond had a bunch of different edits and shit and different music, but that wasn't Almy, and it wasn't that. It's just a strange fucking thing that he was talking about. I actually don't really know much about that. I know with the Beyond, of course, Seven Doors of Death is it's basically just an American cut it cuts out all the good shit, really. Yeah,
and I can't remember. Does that is that score is different? It wasn't
way
different. It's totally just an added in kind of scoring
different
thing.
It's not horrible, but it's just not.
Oddly enough, I actually have that new edition sitting right here, just because I just got it the other day in the mail. It's funny that we're bringing up the Beyond and it's sitting right here, but I haven't watched this composer cut, so it's like the new version that Fritzy did for it. I'm a little bit afraid to, because the music from the Beyond is so iconic and so part of the films. It's like a narrative in itself, right? I love it. It kind of makes the film for me. Have you watched the composer cut yet with the new music? Because I've never heard it. Okay,
I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's better than Seven Doors of Death cut.
Yeah, I mean, the music is just different. At least it's the Beyond movie. At least we're gonna get all that fucking gore and stuff. I've only ever seen the American cut version, I think, once back in the day, and then seeing knowing the beyond, I was like, there's no reason to watch that. There really isn't. It's just.
But Tobe Hooper recommended it.
Weird.
Remember the trailer? If you watch the Seven Doors of Death, it's like Tobe Hooper instead of Toby Hooper. It says.
I'm wondering if that was his introduction to the film, and he'd never seen the actual full.
No, he couldn't have. He wouldn't have. I mean, it was. How would he see it?
Right.
I mean, he saw that fucker in the theater, and he was just like, "Oh, it was pretty cool." Fucking probably high out of his mind.
Probably, yeah.
Getting back to Superstition, I do want to mention this is one of the movies. So when you think like scary witch or anything like that, you don't really get to see like big, scary, intimidating witches. And the witch here is in black cloak, very satanic, very terrifying. Has the long fingers on the backdrop. It's very atmospheric. I think on the stairs with the wind going, it's great. If you take that scene and put it in any clip, people are like, "What's that from?" And yeah, right there. But then, like, at one point, you see the fingers. It's horrifying. I think I put it in the opening 82. It looks a lot like the nightmare or dream sequence or the sequence in Prince of Darkness that they're sent to him, that broadcasting, when you see the demon or Satan on the church steps. Very much like that. I think that, honestly, there's not really all that much really cool satanic imagery that looks like a nightmare like that, with the stairs and a black cloak figure. I think that's probably one of the stronger points, too, for it.
I think the way they filmed the witch in this film is actually quite unique because, it you know, like when you think of witches, you don't think of like demonic hands and big overbearing like kind of demonic creatures and stuff like that. But you know, the film starts out, you don't really get to see anything. Right. And then as the film progresses, you get to see an arm. I think you get to see the arm when the witch throws the wife through the fucking hallway and she breaks through the table or whatever. You see that right there. And then you get kind of glimpses and you're like, holy shit, this is a really dark, it almost looks like a burnt arm with these big demonic fingers and nails and shit. You're like, wow, what the hell is going on? And then you get to see the witch coming down the stairs in this scene, but you never get to see the face. I think they hid the identity so well. I think it would have ruined it to see the face. But the way the scene is shot is so perfect because it's an overbearing. It's actually the dude that played the Phantom in the Town That Dreaded Sundown. He's the guy that plays the witch in this film. He's actually the stunt coordinator and stuff like that. He worked on all these type of films and shit. So he had a big
Pierce movie, huh?
Yeah. So he's the guy. So that's why it's like a big burly kind of dude and stuff like that. But the scene's filmed so great because you don't get too much, but you get enough. And the way it's shot, because our character's at the bottom of the stairs and it's shooting up and it just looks so huge. And the backlight and the lighting, it just fits so perfect. I think it's my favorite scene in the entire film that isn't involving like a kill scene kind of thing. I just think it's very, very well done for such a low budget film. And they even said too, like the director, you know, when they talked about when they found the location for the house. So this house was actually fully built of concrete. And the reason for it is because the previous owner had his house burned down and he's like, well, I'm never having that fucking happen again. So we built an entire mansion out of concrete. And they're like, so they walked in when they're doing the scouting, like, this is the creepiest place in the world. Like, this is absolutely fucking perfect. So it wasn't really lit very well. It didn't have a lot of lights and shit like that. So the way they actually lit that was kind of perfect. Much props. I always have a lot of respect for people that can light a low budget film properly and execute scenes like this that are so effective, doesn't give away too much, but it's so brilliant for what it is. And, you know, I mean, you get the scene at the end. It is what it is. I think honestly that one of those scenes, like that scene into the pool, I still think it's funny that they call it a pool.
Yeah, it's a fucking drainage ditch, bro.
It's a backyard pond. I'm like, no way I'm stepping in that shit, man. Who knows what the fuck's in that thing?
It looks like it's covered in leeches. It just looks like it's like a pool that is like, it's not actually a pool, but just like covered in dead leaves and shit that's like brown on the bottom. Dude, it's nasty. Dude, there's that funny part, like right in the beginning where they're chasing Arlen, the two cops, and the cop like goes over to the water and just gets sucked into the water and then nobody ever finds him again. How many dead bodies are in that lake?
You know what's funny about that scene too? Is when one of the daughters goes swimming and she's like, oh my, and she starts freaking out. And she's like, oh my God, there's something grabbing my foot. And they pull her out of the water. And it's literally the cop's hand that's like attached to her fucking leg. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
Dude, this time around when I was watching it, I didn't register
around her ankle.
I didn't register it was a hand. I thought it was like, I saw the like stubby hand and I thought that her toes were all bitten and chewed off and morphed in gross. And I was like, what the fuck? It actually was more bothersome. Like, because if I pull up and there's a hand grabbing my foot, that's terrifying. But if I pull up and my toes are like munched off and it's just like a stub, like a stump, that's way worse to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that actually would make a lot more sense than having a hand somehow clutch the ankle, which makes literally no sense unless you put it into the aspect of the witch did that, right? I mean, I guess so, right? You got to just suspend your belief a little bit because the witch is obviously doing some crazy supernatural things that you have to suspend your belief, right?
So I guess she can't move too far away from the water, is what it seems. She has to be somehow bounded by the water because of the cross. But one thing that they missed out, I think, before, like, I think that, you know how when Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, when they have the first corpse you see, and he's always dripping in water because he's wet? I think they should have made her dripping in water. I think there should have been puddles around the house that they found and little things like that. Like, what the fuck's this water doing here? This black water. Everywhere she went, there should have been a puddle of black water. She's coming out of the fucking swamp. It would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that actually would have been cool. They do try to give that part of the narrative some backstory and some context as to why. So when they did the ritual, when they killed the witch back in 1692, they didn't burn her because they didn't have the reason. It's something to do with resources, or they weren't able to do that. The church wasn't allowed to do that. So what they did is they went ahead and drown her on the stake, right? So she was bound to the lake, but the whole ritual wasn't complete because to actually fully kill a witch, you have to burn her. So what happens is, so she's bound to the water and she's only able to come out at nighttime. Hence, the beginning kills happen at nighttime. So she was able to roam the house at night and kill those people. But during the day, nothing was happening until the reason why she was able to escape the water during the day is because the priest removed the cross that was binding her to her death spot, right? So once that was removed, she was able to move 24 hours a day, hence why she could kill at night and during the day, and when shit went crazy. So they do explain that away, which I think is kind of an interesting premise. And that's why at the end of the film, I always forget the lead's name in the film because he's so bland. But anyways, that's why he grabs those gas cans. Dave Thompson. Yeah, so the reason why he grabs
so close to Dave Thomas.
It is bad. So that's why he grabs the gas cans, and he knows because he reads on the ritual and stuff, because we get all that kind of backstory through, visuals too, but he also figures out that they never finished the ritual and she needed to burn to actually die. But which, I mean, I guess him getting pulled in at the end while it's burning, maybe she's not dead yet, but, so again, suspend your belief kind of thing. But
she's got that good line where she says, it would have worked. It would have worked if I was home. And that just sucks because you're like, fuck. Like if I would have waited and she would have been in there, I would have been able to kill her. But he burns it without her in there, and then he hits her in the head with the cross or something, right? And she falls into the water, and he gets pulled in. I like that he gets pulled in. I think
he kills the kid. He puts the cross into the kid because the kid is kind of like this vessel for her or some shit like that. So
it's kind of strange, honestly.
It is kind of a interesting kind of little narrative.
The one thing I do want to mention is one of the producers, Ed Carlin, his wife is actually the wife in this movie, the lady who goes downstairs. She's like an actress, Lynn Carlin. So she's in it because she was married, but she's actually one of the better performers in the movie. She has a very familiar face. Like most of the actors didn't have huge, like noticeable careers besides like they did, but they're mostly TV. Like, of course, Stacy Keach Sr. and the drunk Reverend was in a bunch of stuff, and Salmi was in a lot of stuff. But they're not like, it's not anybody you'd see and be like, oh, it's that guy. Except Billy Jacoby, I think, is the one at the time you'd be like, oh. And like, it's kind of weird he's in this, honestly. Like, it seems a little too gritty and dirty, even because he's in Nightmares and Bloody Birthday and just one of the guys. Like, I feel like it's a little bit more bigger budgeted stuff. I wonder how he got involved with this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, though, when they filmed it and even showed it to the cast, it was a little bit of a different film, so there was some stuff. I'm assuming, like, I don't know if they shot actually another really fun kill in the backstory in the witch scenes is the priest that gets killed by the wine press. I think that's actually a pretty cool kill. And like the director even said that he wanted to explode more of the wine bottles and stuff. I've always been a big fan of like scenes that are shot in like wine cellars and all of a sudden they just start exploding with red wine because it kind of resonates blood and stuff. Yeah, it's like that. And it's kind of cool because it takes it one step further and he meets a pretty nasty demise, which is interesting. He gets killed in like the press, and I think it's kind of cool.
It's cool. It's fun.
But I think they did a good job. Like that's actually one of my favorite sequences in the film is like that whole backstory, because I was impressed at the costumes and how authentic it actually looked. Like there's a lot going on there for, the amount of screen time that's happening in there. it just seems like it's bigger than the rest of the film. I don't know. It's just, I really like it. So
I'm curious on the budget of this one. Like, and I also don't know why it was shelved. I really don't understand why it was shelved. I couldn't really find any clean answers to that, to be honest. Why it just didn't really get a wide release. Maybe it was distro hell or something, or it got unrated because Joe Bob Briggs did review it in 85.
And gave it a good review.
He gave it 3 out of 4 stars, and he enjoyed the movie. And it was put out unrated. So at 70 screens in New York alone. So that's a pretty big release, but it's not a movie that's talked about all that much. You know, it's kind of a forgotten movie. Even when they put it out, it's not like one that pops up in regular rotation of people mentioning. I don't think I've ever heard anyone just bring this up in conversation, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe not the normies, but yeah, again, I'm the weirdo that actually has a Superstition shirt. I remember when this DVD came out, I had actually never seen Superstition until I think Anchor Bay put out the DVD.
Yep.
It was one of those films that like you, we rated the the film or the movie stores back in the day. I don't remember seeing this one. Like I was that person that probably didn't miss a lot. Like, you rented all the full moons. I literally would start at A and go to Z. Like you just rent every single fucking thing. I don't remember ever seeing this. So when it came out from Anchor Bay, I was like, well, we were into the Anchor Bays and shit. They were always putting out stuff that was in our realm. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like, okay, whoa, what the hell? Like, where'd this come from?
Like, I don't remember seeing the cover. I really don't. Or Fear No Evil. I might have seen that cover, but I never rented it. Because when it says Superstition, I'm like, it's going to be some possession movie. And it's not going to be like Demon Night or Demons. It's going to just be like me laying in a bed. It just didn't look that appealing to a 10, 12-year-old kid. And I don't remember seeing Superstition at all. I wish I could just get a time machine and just go back to the video store in like 1990 and just walk through there and see what they actually had. Because now I don't think there'd be one title I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder if it was like, I know it was released by probably a decent company, but like how many copies were actually out there? Because you're right, though. It's one of those films that just doesn't seem to get a lot of mention. Like, let alone praise. It never even gets talked about. Like, I never heard people like, yeah, this one time in 1992 when I rented Superstition. Like, you never hear anyone start a conversation with that.
No.
Right?
And there's no commentary. There's no, like, this should have had, like a Nathaniel Thompson and or Troy. I don't know if Troy's a big fan, but you could see a Nathaniel Thompson commentary on this one, or you could definitely see a Hysteria Continues commentary on this one. The slasher guys would definitely, I'm sure they probably covered it on their show. I should have probably listened to that before this.
Troy would probably be doing a commentary on Witch Story, the Italian one.
He did. They did one.
Is he one of the ones that's on there? I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
you know what?
It's Nathaniel Thompson, Ercolani, and Troy Howarth. And I listened to that today.
Okay, so I think there's actually, is there not two? Is there two on here? So I never got to the commentaries because there's already like 6 hours of features on here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And so like when I was reviewing it for that, it was just so much to cover and said, yeah, you're right, it is Troy. Yeah, because I mean, geez, man. I mean, it's an Italian film, of course, he's going to be on there. The dude's really good with commentaries. I should probably listen to that sometime. I'd like to actually hear what he says about it because I did watch like all the features on here and learned a shitload. I was very interested to hear them talk about like this Inspectors and that whole kind of 2 films that they've done.
That director, what is it? Alexander, I can't think of his last name.
Capone?
He worked on that. They talk about them working on that movie Trauma, however you say it, from 1980, which is a terrible movie, but he wrote it and he's like, it sucked, like they ruined it. And I was like, oh yeah, he thinks it sucked too. And like he worked on other ones, but he worked on this movie from 2005 that Treasured Films put out called Reality Killers, which is a Italian produced made movie in California, and it's like a fake, like a faux snuff kind of deal thing. And it's real weird. It's almost like the plot of Murder Collection. I don't know if I would give it a recommend. I was not a big fan of the movie, but the interviews with him were the best part of it. Like the hour interview with him, how he talked about the making of it and how they edited it differently, how they kind of fucked the movie up, all sorts of shit like that. And there's like a 2-hour, 10-minute like work print version of it on there. And I was like going through that and I was like, yeah, there's a much better movie in here than they have on the final film. Like they could have cut this up and fixed this fucking thing. And it was just so weird that this guy's movie came out and Witch Story came out and he's involved with both of them. And it's a guy that I didn't really register. You don't think about it, but he's got a lot of stuff to talk about within the Italian film industry.
I literally just watched your review on that, and I actually had that film on my radar because of just doing research through directors and just knowing about these films. I'm like, I've never seen this thing before. Kind of looking forward to it. I didn't even know it was coming out, and then I saw it. I was like, because every time I click on your videos, I always click to see what you're reviewing. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, oh no way! And then you weren't really talking great about it. And I was like, that kind of figures.
you'll find it interesting. Just watch the features. You'll like it for the features, but it's also weird that Treasured Films must be getting a U.S. kind of distributor. So, and they only did the Dawn of the Mummy and a couple other ones. So
yeah, and that surprised me when you said it was a U.S. one, because I just had that fiasco with my Dawn of the Mummy and actually ended up getting the copy for free. It was like totally bizarre. But anyways, yeah. So I didn't know that they were flipping the script into America. It just seems like everybody is now, because it started with Arrow and then 88 Films. It's like, I just let JP know the other day. Eureka, like JP didn't know that 88 was doing American releases, and he's like, wait, what? They're doing American? I'm like, dude, they've been doing American
for like 10 years.
I know. It's been a long time. Like, yeah, when they took that big hiatus with the Shaw Brothers line, when they came back, they've been all American releases. That was kind of the time period where they were kind of figuring out shit, because I think Buddy had left 88 Films, and yeah, so
I wish they put out some of their first releases. I mean, like, a lot of people would really like to see Seating of a Ghost again. I have the UK, but that movie deserves a nice release.
I'm behind. I have like the first 40 releases on the Shaw Brothers, and like they're like I missed like the last 10. They just started
like
pumping them out
or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm missing like, the last 7 or 8, but like, yeah, like those early ones, fuck, dude, like there's some like the Oily Maniac and Seeing with Ghost and like Hex, and like there's so many good films that they release. Yeah, there's some good ones, and also, obviously the martial arts, the kung fu films and shit, like they're great too, man. Some really good ones in there.
I'm happy to see that Vinegar Syndrome put out Corpse Mania and shit. I think Bewitched is underrated. That one from 81. That's a great movie.
Great film. Yeah.
The Shaw Brother horror movies are fucking excellent. And I've been going through them for 82. And there's Hell Has No Boundary and Curse of Evil, which are two that I'd never seen. And those movies are fucking awesome. Moodz, you'd love those movies. Hell Has No Boundaries, basically like a female possessed character to just fucking shit up, killing people in crazy, weird ways. And Curse of Evil, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's one scene where I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Where it's literally like a scene out of a completely different movie. I was just like, this isn't real.
Dude, I find myself saying that all the time when I'm watching Shaw Brothers horror films. I'm like, the creativity in the banana shit, it's like I swear those guys sit down, they're like, hey, we need to do some LSD, and we're just going to come up with some fucked up shit and we're going to put it on screen. Like, it never ceases to amaze me, the shit that they put on there. And like, it's one thing to come up with some of the ideas that they showcase, but like to actually do what they do is wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a totally different type of filmmaking. It makes it so fresh and unique, and they're fun. They're always shot well. They're always fun. Like Corpse Mania, man, is kind of like their version of like, it's like a Hong Kong giallo is what it is. It's shot just like one. It's lit like one. It kind of plays out like one. It's got this mystery. It's really good, man. Really good stuff.
And you don't get like, it's funny because Hong Kong is basically like, it was obviously was ran by Britain and Chinese background and Britain background, and Britain and China, when it comes to their movies, are so uptight about their fucking censorship. So it's funny that Hong Kong's like, censorship, never heard of it, except unless there's like a gay character, then they're like, no gay love stories. That's not good. But like anything else, like, oh, you want to chop off this woman's breast and feed him to her? Yes, put that in there.
I know.
Don't slow it down. But like, it's just so weird, some of their movies. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening here? And I love them. I just think like it's the last frontier for movie fans that have watched everything. And they're just like, people complain about the weirdest shit in movies in America. And they're like, you haven't seen anything, have you? You have not visited Japan or Hong Kong, because you would be fucking flipping your head if you saw some of the shit they're doing in these movies, man.
Absolutely. And it's so different too. Like, some people, like, you try to explain it, like, no, if you watch some films from Hong Kong, like, they got their own style, it's pretty crazy. And then you go over to Japan and it's like, it's crazy, but in a different way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like,
every country's crazy in their own way. Like, Indonesia's completely bonkers too.
Yeah. Like
we're not going to show nudity, but this person's head's going to fly off and bite off somebody's throat. They're just like, why?
Oh, I know, man. Like once you go down that rabbit hole and you start visiting all these countries that you probably were not overly familiar with growing up, because I mean, let's face it, a lot of these films were a lot harder to see. Yeah, we couldn't get them, and if you did, it was probably some crazy third generation bootleg VHS. So you couldn't see what the fuck was going on anyway. So what the fuck was even the point of watching that shit?
There. It's like,
yeah, it was always some
Japanese subs on a fucking Hong Kong laser disc.
Dude, I think it was like everyone's first experience. Like, we've talked about this before and laughed about it, but like the first time I watched Cannibal Holocaust back in the 90s, I could barely see what the fuck was going on. The tape was so bad. And like, I literally, like, I've had these moments before, like, it was a Drive-In Massacre, like the opening scene in that film where there's like a decapitation. I'd seen that movie like 4 or 5 times before, and when I got the Blu-ray, I was like, there's a decapitation?
Or like Garden of the Dead, you're like, what's going on here? Like, yeah. There's like running across the field. You're like, is this a prison break or a fucking, like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, thank God for, you know, them coming up with the high definition format, because some of these movies, like, it's just crazy to think, like, you know, I was watching these tapes back in the day, even DVD, but like some of these upgrades now is bananas, dude. Like, these things look too
see
good.
What's happening in Night of Bloody Horror and Curse of the Cannibal Confederates? Thank God. I never watched those; they look so bad. But when I popped them in, I was like, "These look fantastic!" And then I'm like, "This, like."
Curse of the Cannibal Confederates, I think, was one of the films. Remember the old Trauma tins? Yeah. It was one of the films that, like, they had 2 of them. There was 10 films, and I was one in there. Yeah, those things were like typical Trauma, all full screen, pretty much VHS transfer. They put nothing into those things. They're pretty trashy. But those
they
were
were just trying to match the directors when they made the movies, put nothing into it. I'm just kidding. No, some of those are great. Like Curse of the Cannibal Confederates is not as bad as I'm making it out to be. I know people hate it, but it's 5 times better than Night of Horror. It's way better. Same director.
Oh, yeah.
It's way better. Night of Horror is actually one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, that movie is pretty fucking bad. It's pretty bad.
Speaking of Shaw's 1982, Human Lanterns is an underrated one. That's a good one.
Love that movie.
That's
Absolutely
a good one.
love Human Lanterns. Yeah. So good.
So just for the hell of it, better or worse than Superstition? No deep thinking from 82. You just have to say better or worse. Whichever movie you like better, name that. The Thing.
It's better.
But The Thing's better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or am I saying,
just
yeah, I'll
just
say
the movie title. Just be like, if it's a thing, say Thing, or what? Poltergeist.
Yeah. Better. Or Poltergeist.
Halloween 3.
Halloween 3.
Friday 3.
Friday 3.
Tenebrae. Slumber Party Massacre. Creepshow.
Superstition.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Basket Case.
I'm just going to catch shit for that one. Basket Case.
Cat People.
Superstition.
Pieces.
New
York Ripper.
Is my favorite film of 82.
Cue the Winged Serpent.
I didn't say best. I said favorite.
Yeah, I know that. I'm the same way.
Get out of my space, guys. Come on.
I'm the same way. Like, when we get to like the late 80s, my lists are going to be insane. Like, it's like you left off Near Dark for Psychos in Love. Yeah, I sure did.
Well, when we did our top 10 82 show, like, I think I had was it number? I don't know. It was high up there, but like all of a sudden it was like, what the hell is this number 1? Oh, he hasn't said New York Ripper yet. But come on, man. Fulci's my favorite. I mean, it's not even the biasm. I've just seen that movie so many times. I love it. Like, I just can't get enough of New York Ripper. I think it's everything about it, man. Like, it's quirkiness with the killer. The kills are great, but the music is fantastic. The locations. I just love that movie, dude. I could watch
ending too.
Yeah,
it's a good movie, and that dream sequence is fantastic. The way it's shot and the way in the theater and stuff. I really like New York Ripper too. I've come up on that. It would be. There's no way it doesn't make a top 10 for me in 1982. How the fuck could it not? You know. So like, I think 82 has a lot of mean-spirited movies. The endings, the downbeat endings, or the Thing's endings. It is downbeat in a certain way. It's very nihilistic, but not as bad, not as downbeat as Halloween 3 or Tenebrae or Basket Case. Those movies are dark, really dark endings, and the New York Ripper too.
I never really thought as that being an overwhelming theme for 1982, but you're totally right. Like, when you actually put it in perspective and start naming off that many films that have these nihilistic or very, very dark endings. Living Dead Girl, which is another really great one. But yeah, like, I've always said The Thing is super nihilistic, but it's kind of like, I don't know, man. It kind of fits what it does. I don't know, man. There's just something about that.
It's the perfect ending for it. It has to be that. And they're like, what's the ending? It's like, you don't know. You're not supposed to know. You feel the way you feel, and that's the way it is.
And Superstition falls into it's not nihilistic. It's just dark. It's just dark. Like, when you have nobody surviving a film, and in a film like this where you think there would be some type of protagonist. Yeah, like,
the priest is gonna make it.
Honestly, you think that the blonde girl is gonna make it out of there because she was kind of the good one. Like, the other sister was super bitchy, man. And when she slaps her fucking dad in the face, you're like, damn, dude, she's a bitch.
He had it coming though.
He did. But like,
sober up.
But even as a kid, like, and this is 19, like, this was still in the time.
I would never slap my dad. Can you imagine slapping your dad? I'd get the shit kicked out of me immediately.
Most kids that slapped any parent back in the early 80s would have got it right back, probably twice as bad. Right.
Well,
so
there's that scene in Christine, right? Doesn't they slap the dad, tries to slap him, and he grabs his dad like that? That's like the best scene with his dad. He's like, like, right. Christine's also fucking, that's 83, but that movie's amazing.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's anything else left. I mean, there's Alone in the Dark, there's Living Dead Girl, Extro, Entity. I think you probably prefer Superstition over all those.
No, Entity, I'm actually, I know you've always been kind of indifferent on, like, I personally
I came up this time. I came up on the Entity. I read the book and I watched the movie and I was like, I did a lot of studying on it and I came up on it.
I just think that Barbara Hershey's performance in that film is crazy, man. But it's honestly the sound design that really sells that. You really feel how I say it loosely, but authentic it would be. Like if you're getting like supernaturally raped and like, I don't know, man, it just works for me. It just sells it so well. It just kind of, it forces it in. It's like a force fed, overwhelming, pounding score, but that's exactly what's happening. You're being literally raped. It's crazy, right? So
Max Moldrick ripped that score off.
I've always really liked it. I know a lot. I know a lot of people always have a little bit of reserves for the ending of the film, like where that kind of goes and stuff like that. I can see that from people, but at that point, I'm just like, whatever. What I've watched already kind of works for me. But Superstition, like honestly, like when we did the 82 show rewatching, I was high on it too. Like 82 was a tough year. I cut a lot of films out of the top 10. It's an easy top 20 list, or even probably when you do your top 25 or whatever you're going to do.
It'll be easy for 20, not easy top 10 though. There's like fucking 15 fucking amazing movies. It's really hard to cut 5.
I cut so many that I loved, and it was just like, man, dude, it's just a solid fucking year, man. Really, really crazy year. So, but yeah, like even watching it yesterday again, I was like, I just can't. There's obviously that major influence. I don't know how influenced they were with like, the ending of Friday the 13th, but I just get those vibes at the end of this film with like, it just feels like that because like, oh wow, that was kind of a hit and that was kind of unexpected. Maybe we could kind of duplicate that because nobody will be expecting the witch's arm to come out. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know.
Drags a couple people off, drags the mom off, drags the cop off, drags the priest off.
It's just the fact that this one happens to be Into the Water, kind of very similar to a very famous film that came out, a year and a half prior.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple movies I never even asked you about from 82. I wonder how you're at. But before we move on, 82 is also a year of trying to take the supernatural and try to base some fact into it, like Poltergeist, One Dark Night, The Entity. They all kind of approach that psychic aspect or supernatural aspect like that as like scientific in a lot of ways.
I would take Superstition over One Dark Night. I do like One Dark Night, but I would rather watch Superstition just because I feel like One Dark Night is like one of those, it's a very imbalanced film for me. I feel like it starts out really good and ends really good, but it has this like kind of a lull in the middle, even though it's got really good locations. Like the location is fantastic, the characters are fine, but like I just feel like it's kind of the tale of bookends. You know what I mean?
The opening's great with the cat and the bodies pulling out there with all the corners, and I like the movie. It's good. It's a good movie. It's a possible top 25, but it's not. Did you
recently just talk about that again?
Yeah, I'm almost. Yeah. I'm getting close to the end. I'm almost done. I think I have like 3 or 4 of these. You're the 4th I have shot of these, but I need to edit because I'm getting I've been like working, like having to go drop my car off and shit and stuff. So it's like I've been busy as shit. Right. But yeah, the year is really interesting. It's a strong year. It's not as strong as 81. 81 is insane. Like your number 50 of 81 is like your number 2 of like 1994. Like, and just like, you know what I mean? Like Bewitched didn't make my top 25, and that's better than almost any 90s horror movie. So it's very hard to do. How do you feel about what was the one I was got? Durfan. Do you like Durfan?
Yeah, I really do. That's a good film.
It's an interesting movie.
Totally different. Like, if you were to take the 2 films, it's like which one would I rather? It depends. That would be straight mood for me. Durfan is really, really fucking solid. Different times, I put them on the same kind of level for myself, but like Superstition is definitely one of those films where I feel like watching something like just kind of you know what I mean? Like when you get into a slasher, feels like you just want to watch slasher films, it's like when
Durfan is like an art film, so it's like you have to have some sort of like mentality to watch an art film, which sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Like in terms of better film, Durfan is one of the best films of 82, but in terms of like enjoyment quality, like the music's great. It's not like the easiest film to watch because it's also a little disturbing and just strange and slow paced, and is a trance. It's like Trance was the alternate title. You're in a trance. It's
so effective though at what it does. It's so effective. Yeah, when Mondo put out that Blu-ray, that was the first time I'd ever seen that film actually, and I was taken back by it. I was like, holy shit, I mean, I don't know really the history on the release for that. I don't know if it was widely released when we were growing up or whatever, but I had
never had a U.S. release, but it did have a Canadian VHS.
Random.
Bruce
So
Holchek
I
goes over the whole like thing of it. He found it in a Florida shop on VHS. He's like, what the fuck? And he grabbed Trance, and it was a Canadian tape all the way down in Florida for some reason.
Wow. I wonder if that movie was in some of our Canadian stores, like even around my way, but maybe not in the horror section. Is that a...
I think they probably threw it somewhere else, not knowing what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Where would you put it though?
You know, a lot of films back in the day,
they would never seen it. They didn't watch it. They were just like, whatever.
Oh, absolutely not. Like, they were always miscatalogued. Like, you'd find horror films in like fucking drama set. I'm like, what the hell? That's a wrong.
They had Deadbeat at Dawn in action, and one of the things, and I was like, yeah, I guess it is an action movie, but I don't really feel like it's an action movie. I don't know where to put it. In the cult section, if you had a cult section, Deadbeat at Dawn is the definition of a cult movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It's action, it's horror, it's exploitation. It's just a kind of weird smorgasbord thing.
It's a hybrid of many genres, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's a cult film. Totally, 100% love that film.
So there's a couple movies here that I never heard you talk about that I'm curious if you've ever seen them, because they're kind of rare, but I thought they were kind of hidden gems I was asking about. Have you ever seen Latan from 82?
Nope.
I think you'd like it. It's really cool folk horror. It's got a release. It's going to be, they put it out in that second All Haunts box set.
Okay, well, I'll be getting to it then, because we're thinking of kind of tackling those things. Like, I've seen a lot of the films in both sets, but that's one I haven't. So,
Pure Blood.
Pure Blood. I can't think of what it is. It sounds uber familiar.
South American?
No, I haven't seen it.
Dude, you should check this one out, because it's like this old man who's like dying and he needs fresh blood. So like his like son-in-law or something is like hiring these criminals to go around and get the blood, and like one of them is just like enjoying like killing the people and stuff, and they're bringing this old fucking, so it's basically like the rich feeding off the poor. It's fucking fucked up. It's really cool though. What else did I think was...
is that getting a release?
I don't know, but if you want a copy, I can get you one. I don't know of any release that I know of, to be honest. It should have a release. It's really good. Cute Devil. That's the guy who directed Housu, directed this TV horror movie about an evil kid who might have supernatural powers. These are all possible. When you did 82, they weren't easy to find. You couldn't find them.
No. And I know the film you're talking about. No, we couldn't find it. I wanted to watch it knowing that who had directed it. So
it's good. It's pretty interesting. Like, so I'm just looking at these, like I'm just going through my list, and I think those three are kind of like some gems. I think you've seen everything else, honestly. I can't really think of most of the stuff. And there's a bunch of weird shit that I did watch. Brimstone and Treacle got a release. That was very cool. That's a great movie. Curious to hear what you think about that one.
I've never seen it, but I do have the Blu-ray, so I'm going to be checking that out soon. So,
and then again, the Shaw Brothers ones, Curse of Evil and Hell Has No Boundaries, are two more that I think you'd really dig for sure. There's some real weird shit though. There's a lot of weird Hong Kong shit, like the John Woo one that I watched, To Hell with the Devil, where it turns into a live action video game jumping up, and it's fucking bonkers.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of films that were on the radar when we were doing 82, and we did that years ago, but like, it's amazing how every year that passes, things just become so much more available, whether it's physical media or even via the internet. Like, these things are just popping up everywhere. So yeah, like, I mean, hopefully those things get physical releases because they sound awesome.
I got your top 10 right here from 82. You want me to read it? Just
for
shits and giggles. This is your 82. This was filmed probably what? Episode 145 from 22 shots. So I'll do 10 to 1. Entity. Basket Case. Superstition.
Oh, it was in the top 10, yeah.
Alone in the Dark. Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, which goes back between 81, 82, and 83. I think they put it as 81 at this point. Fucking mess of a timeline on that one.
When we did the show, it was still 82, but yeah, it changed. It's changed a couple times. I know that's one that's
I've
I
seen
don't
83
understand.
too once.
I don't understand that.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Mm-hmm.
Tenebrae 4. The Thing. Pieces. New York Ripper.
Yeah, that sounds like a list that I would make for sure.
I think really Creepshow is the only one that's not on there. That's like people be like, oh, no Poltergeist either.
Yeah, I know it's like I said, a top 10 of 82 is so hard. There was like definitely more than a handful of films where I was like, how, and like it doesn't even seem logical to leave off Creepshow. But at the time that I was doing that list, that's just what I was feeling. I'm not saying that Superstition is necessarily better than Creepshow. Probably not. It's not. But we always, I make my list by favorite. So if you can understand, and a lot of people, some people can't understand the difference between favorites and best. But if you can, then you understand the list, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Because if I was doing best of, The Thing hands down is the best movie from '82. I can't even think of something that's actually better than The Thing. Right?
I think there's like 4 best ofs, I think, in '82. I think it would be The Thing, Tenebrae, Creepshow, and Poltergeist. Like, personal preferences aside, and then honestly, I'd probably put New York Ripper as 5.
Yeah. You know, I agree. Poltergeist is an excellently made film for sure. 100%.
I'm having trouble like trying to think of my top 10. I mean, like, I know I'm doing a top 25, so it's not that big of a deal, but that 10 spot, like, it matters to people. It's like, that's not your top 10, but fucking, you know, like, there's like 5 or 6. I'm sitting there like Q the Winged Serpent, Human Lanterns, Poltergeist, and like, you know, Living Dead Girl. I'm like, what is number 10? What's number 10? What's number 9? You know what I mean? Those like 2, like 4 movies. And it's like crazy that I would have been second guess Poltergeist, because I've had a really weird relationship with Poltergeist. Favorite as a kid, grew up to kind of feel weird about it, like shaky and like cheesy. But then like I rewatched and I'm like, oh, this is so fucking well made. How can I not put it in my top 10? I'd be an idiot.
I have literally the same relationship with it. I grew up watching Poltergeist quite often, loved it. And I just kind of fell out of it because, like, once you get older, you start discovering a lot more films and stuff. It's not like I had a disdain for it. I just kind of started loving other things a lot more and just kind of forgot about it, kind of fell out of love with it. And then I remember watching it in the 2000s being like kind of lukewarm. And then the remake came out. I don't remember when the remake came out. What was that?
2015.
2015. So I watched the remake and I was like,
terrible movie. Terrible fucking movie.
I'm like, I don't know about this. So then I rewatched Poltergeist and I was like, oh, it's actually like kind of rekindled my love for it. So
well,
I took a shitty remake
to
like
the beginning when it like goes to the TV and this. I was like, oh, this is so fucking cool. The only part that I've ever had trouble with is like where I like chuckle to myself, and it's like when like the ghosts come down the stairs. I'm like it's too sweet. Like it's too like cheesy for me. I don't know. I think Poltergeist 2 sucks. I just don't like it. Special effects are great. Movie sucks.
Dude,
though.
I was just gonna ask you what your thoughts are on the sequels, because I actually
love
don't
3.
like. Okay, so we're very similar because I don't like part 2 either, and I love part 3. In fact, part 3 actually has one of my favorite theatrical posters of all time. I love that image,
the high rise
of the building and the way it's shot, the color scheme, the way it's shot, everything. That movie's so much fun to me, and that's really fun. And we have like identical views on the whole franchise.
Weird. I think we probably grew up watching them, so like we rent all of them, and like 2 was such a law as a kid. Like I would be like. And it had the Native American stereotypical shit in there, which comes across really poor now. They had the grandma character introduced, and 2 seconds later she dies. Then they kill the dog. They never mentioned that the sister's gone. It's such a rehash of the first one, and they're trying to recreate it. It doesn't work. Craig T. Nelson's fun in it. The Kilo Worm's awesome, but besides that, I just don't like it. It's just fucking boring to me. And like the third one, I know it's a mess. I know it was cobbled together, but I think the mere trickery is just so fun that I have trouble disliking. And I know it's technically not a great film and it's a messy movie, but it's just so much more interesting to watch for me. And it's something that I was terrified.
Yeah, it's a location for me too. I'm like, I have this really big soft spot for movies that are shot in malls or high risers.
Yeah.
So like, you know, being such a huge fan of Demons, and then seeing the sequel, I was like, oh, I can really fuck with this. I know it's like, to me, it's like the same movie, but totally different, because it's set in a location where I love it. I can fuck with that high, like, you know, that apartment building kind of thing so much. So it's just, it's amazing how a location can really kind of change how a film could be.
Well, it also ties to you. You know what I mean? Like the 80s were about all those big buildings and shit. But like, I think I prefer the Friday movies now as I'm older, because I used to like be in the woods when I was a kid, and there's just something special about the woods or camping or going to fish. It just puts you in that mindset to be out there, and like it makes you feel young again. You're like, yeah, we used to do that shit when we were young too, and go out and drink and have fun out on islands or something like that. So I always have that kind of connection to it. Like even that movie, what is that dumb movie, Bloodhook? It's not a great movie, not at all. But I like the location a lot, because it's not that I grew up on a peninsula, so it's a fishing community, so it's like a lot of fishing. So I'm like, I kind of like this, even though it's crap. Like,
yeah, the any type of camp slasher films, I was always a massive fan of. Like slasher films was always kind of my go-to. You know, Friday films, of course, but like someone that grew up always camping. Like I was out every single weekend when we could be. It was always the greatest thing. And I was actually telling you guys in the chat that we used to even have a Camp Crystal Lake just outside of my city. We used to go there every once in a while. It wasn't exactly what you think of it. Like it was just a kind of a provincial campground kind of thing. So not even provincial, it was just, actually, I think it was just forestry. but it was on Crystal Lake, so it was Camp Crystal Lake, and it was always used to like make me smile, like, yeah, we're going to Camp Crystal Lake. Wonder if Jason's coming. Like it was just like that stigma, and it was so much fun out there. And then they had to close it down around
like
2000. Yeah,
there's an Elm Street. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, but I mean, fun little weird fact, but every town actually has an Elm Street. It's like crazy. Like our Elm Street in this town.
I know.
Like
I saw part 6. I used to say that all the time. Oh, what were you saying about the closing down Crystal Lake before we?
Yeah, it sucked, man. So I moved out of my parents' house in 1999 when I was 19, and I never went back. But so I went to school. I moved away from my city for a few years, and I found out while I was living in Vancouver that Camp Crystal Lake had closed down, and due to the fact that like people just over partied it, and there was so much glass and hazardous shit around that they actually closed down the whole thing. You can't even get access in there. And I was so sad about it. I was like, shit, man. Because like it was in the back of my mind. I'm like, when we get back to town or whatever, definitely gonna go hit up Camp Crystal Lake. Never did it again. And the last time I was ever there was when I was like 18 years old, and I'm like turning 45 this year. It was just kind of one of those things that kind of pissed me off. I was like, these guys fucked it up.
Yeah, I don't think that we can go to the islands anymore because like they basically just like washed away to nothing. Like they keep like dwindling every time, and it's like I wouldn't want to go anyways at my age, you know, like just like being around a bunch of like guys my age and just be like, yo, like I don't want to go out here anymore. Or like I go out if I had like a ski-doo by myself or like with one other person, that'd be fun. But I don't want to, fucking deal with a boat and shit anymore, like or canoe. It's just a lot. But going to the Elm Street thing, we always used to make that joke. I said, like, dude, bro, they should have had like Freddy as a Walmart, like a fucking commercial, and he'd be like, every town has a Walmart, and we're slashing prices. And he like cuts all the price tags down, and they like change the thing. Like, dude, they missed so many opportunities for Freddy advertisements.
Every town has a Walmart. Yeah, fuck. I mean, maybe like probably more prevalent in the States. I wouldn't say every place down there does either, but like up here, you got to be in a little bit of a bigger city to have a Walmart. Like there's places that don't have Walmarts.
We have, I think, we used to have. Do we have two? Two. There's one in Oregon, and there's a couple. Yeah. Just local.
What's the population? You live in Toledo, right? Like, so what's the population there?
I don't know. It's the decent sized city though. Let me look what Toledo is in the population. Biggest cities in Ohio. It's smaller than Columbus, of course.
Cleveland's
smaller than Cleveland, smaller than Cincinnati. It's probably Columbus, honestly, at this point.
Really?
Yeah. It's Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo. There we go.
So what is actually the population of Toledo?
Toledo has 287,000. Cincinnati's got 296. Cincinnati's not even that big.
Yeah, see, like the city I live in only has about 100,000 people.
That's not money. Yeah, we're about 3 times your size. Columbus, 787,000. Cleveland's 396. So Cleveland's 4 times. No, about not one. It's like about 25% bigger than
Cleveland.
Us,
doesn't even have 500,000 people. That's pretty wild, actually.
No, yeah.
That's crazy to me because like
it went up. I'm wrong. Here's what it is. Columbus is 892. Cleveland is 383. That was 8 years ago. This is 2018 population. Toledo was 274 now, but it used to be 287 8 years ago. So we're going down. We lost 4% of our population because it's a shithole. Great metro parks, great museum, great zoo.
Wow. So you have no city in Ohio that has over 1 million people. Interesting.
No.
Interesting. The biggest city in the West Coast for like in BC where I live, it would be Vancouver and the surrounding areas, which is probably, with Vancouver and like the surrounding, which is, a little small, like it's all connected kind of thing. It's about 2.5 million people, I think, total, but it's not even like, Canada only has like maybe 8 cities that have over 1 million people.
That's crazy.
The entire population of Canada is like 36 to 40 million.
How's that going to be in one state though?
Los Angeles has, I think,
gotta be in one state.
California has more people than all of Canada.
Really? So that would work. Just a geographical location is fucking enormous for one state.
Yeah, and I'm just above there. So like California, and then there's me, and it's funny. Like BC, like as an area, is bigger than California, but we have not even close to the population. It's just
wild,
fucking wild.
Dude.
It's wild.
California has so many people. That New York, Texas, Florida, like the big 4 states that you think of, honestly.
It's just a zoo there. Have you ever been out to California before?
No.
It's an absolute zoo. It doesn't matter where you are. Like driving into San Diego is crazy. Like you're driving on these 16 lane fucking freeways. Everyone's doing literally 150 miles an hour. It's just bananas, dude. It's actually quite crazy. But it doesn't matter where you are. There's just traffic. It's nonstop traffic. So California is very interesting to drive.
I should go there. I mean, honestly, out of all the states I've been to, I've probably been to, I don't know, man, a dozen, 15, somewhere around there. You know, there's 50 of them, but there's like at least a dozen I could care less about going to be honest, not to be a dick, but there's just like, who cares?
Yeah, it's funny. I always mention that the closest state to where I live is Alaska, which is only like a 7-hour drive. I've never been. And that's one of 8 states I've been to 42 states. I've never been to Alaska, which is the closest one to me. Which is
you should go to Alaska. I mean,
but when I lived in Vancouver, Washington, so I go over to Seattle, which was just a 2-hour drive. We go there all the time. Like we would drive into Seattle all the time. So that was, and it was nice back in those early days. You didn't actually need a passport. You just needed ID to get across.
I know.
And then
I hate that shit.
And then 9/11 happened, and it was like, holy shit! Now it changed everything. It was a pain in the ass, but you can't travel anywhere without a passport now, anyway. So having one is a good thing. But you know, if you were an international person in those days, you probably had a passport, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, I miss kind of those days. Like, what are you guys crossing the border for? We're
Pizza?
literally going to Jack in the Box. It was a 20-minute drive across the border because we don't have them in Canada.
That's the kind of stupid shit I do. I'm like, where are you going here for? Grilled cheese sandwich, gourmet. Is this the biggest grilled cheese sandwich in the state? I want to try it. They're like,
yeah.
They just think I'm an idiot, so they let me go.
It's so stupid, man. It's so stupid. I'm like, no, seriously, we'll be back in about 45 minutes. We come back through the other way, and the guy's looking over. He's like, those motherfuckers actually did go to Jack in the Box getting some sourdough
like,
jacks.
bring me back a burger.
Yeah. But
do you have anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I mean, 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror you can find on any streaming platform. I'm the host of the show. Got 2 other people. Got Mr. Saucedo and Double Shot Jay. He's got a YouTube channel. Also, we do another second podcast called the Sin Bin Podcast. That's a video show. It's also streaming on everywhere. So I also post on my YouTube channel, which is Moodz616. The videos are on there, and that's basically 22 Shots with Tony Hartman. And the premise of that, the Sin Bin podcast, is we all get the monthly Vinegar Syndrome packages. So we all pick film to review, and then we have a featured review, and we cover everything. It's not just horror titles; it's literally everything the Vinegar Syndrome releases, with DeGeyser and stuff like that, and then of course all the partner label stuff too. So I mean, everyone on the show has different tastes, so you get a wide range of films that are being talked about, and so it's fun. It's a fun show. It gets a little tedious on crappy months of releases, but it is what it is. It's a really fun show. So check out that one again on the Moodz616 channel and any type of platform. Sin Bin, 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror.
Thanks, I appreciate it, man.
Probably about it. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I know I've said I was supposed to be on, I think, for 80 and 81.
You're supposed to be Maniac.
I know, dude. I sometimes this one finally worked out. And actually, this was literally the best day ever to be on the show because I got out of work so early. It just worked out so great. I'm so glad that we picked this date because even the last couple weeks, we have been so busy. So it took us. So I work for Canada Post. It took us 3.5 months to recover from the strike. And then right after we fully recovered, the public got knowledge that we were going on strike again, which is next Thursday. So they started pressing everything out. So we've been backlogging before we even go on strike. So we've been doing double and triple mail every single day because all these companies want to get their shit out, right? So we've been busy it's just wild. But today just happened to be one of those days. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll probably have a little bit of free time come next Thursday, which really sucks. I don't want to strike because I just want to work, but
yeah,
anyways,
I get it.
It sucks, man.
I wish I had a job at the post office at this point.
Yeah, I mean, once it gets settled, it'll be fine and stuff, but it's a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess. Canada Post, the corporate, they actually just walked away from the table, so there is no more negotiation. That's it. We're 100% either going on strike or being locked out. So, but enough of that bullshit. So,
I appreciate you being on here. It's been long in the making, so.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I'm a big fan. I watched. I mean, some of the guests that you have on here just blows my mind. Troy Howard's always on there, and you got tons of people, man. Tons of people are always on the show. It's really fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's ranging from all different people from all different walks, like podcasters, actors, directors, historians. It's fun. It's fun to have all those different people on.
Yeah, different perspectives, right? Different perspectives,
sure.
yeah. So, yeah, awesome stuff, man. Yeah, Superstition, really, really, I enjoy it. Yeah, I obviously enough to have in my top 10. I mean, it's funny. The funny thing about top 10 lists is that, like, you ever go back and look your top 10 list and go, man, like half this list would be so different. Like I couldn't even tell you how many times I've looked at maybe not 82, but I've looked at past shows that we've done, and I'm like, and it's also probably due to the fact that you discover more films, like maybe not so much with you because you're really running through years, like you're watching so much shit that like no one's ever seen.
Well, I mean, there's still stuff that pops up after I'm done, like that will be available again. I'm like, fuck that, I couldn't see that when it was on. Now it just got released on Blu-ray. Like one of those ones for Mania ended up in that All Haunts box set too that I couldn't find. Like that weird, like, oh Lord dear, something I can't remember what it's fucking called. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. But no, I mean, especially the New Year's, like in like 2010 plot, like after, like sometimes I'll watch one of those and be like, this fucking sucks, dude. I used to like this movie. What the fuck was I thinking? Or this is way better than I remembered. Or like I'll watch this way more than this one. Like so, shit changes, especially in newer years for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see your full video essay of 1982 and see how you break it down and what order you like the films in and stuff, because it's a very competitive year. It really is. I mean, I can probably predict a few that are going to be higher up, but as for the way you're actually going to do your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, it's up in the air, man. It's up in the air.
Yeah, there's like 4. I got my top 4 that I can't change. Like it's just so hard to change. They're there. They've been there from the beginning, and like, you know what one grows on me every time I watch it? Halloween 3 gets better every single time I see it.
I tell you, man, I always say it's like when you first watch it, you never realize how fucking mean-spirited that movie is, and then you start thinking about it, you're like, oh my god, the entire premise is just like killing kids.
And it's very adult. It's a very adult-oriented story, like, because it's just a mystery story. And if you want to get an adult interested, you got to have a mystery. You got to have an angle to discover how things are going to unfold. You know, you got to have a mystery to it. And all like those wacky Quatermass movies, which is kind of what it's going for, are all like that. You're like, why is this? Why is that? And they have all these weird reveals. And it also has one of the funniest like villain like motivations. He's like, it's a prank from the children. You're like, what in the fuck are you talking about, you bastard? Like, he's like, for the children. It's like, you're killing. He's just nuts. One of the best villains too for the year.
That is so random that you brought up the Quatermass films, because I was I've been wanting to rewatch pretty much the collection of like Paul Naschy films. I know it's not related to Quatermass, but anyways, I pulled out all the films I haven't watched in the last couple of years or whatever, and it was like a stack of like, you know, whatever. I'm just gonna run through some Paul Naschy because we're off for break with the podcast, so I'm like, I can just watch whatever the fuck I want to watch right now. So I'm gonna start there's a few Naschy films in there I haven't seen before, so I'm like, yeah, I need to watch these. But then I've been wanting to revisit the Quatermass trilogy, so I've actually pulled them out. They're sitting on my poker table right now. It's so weird that you just brought that up, because they're literally sitting
awesome
by the stack of my Paul Naschy films for shit that I'm gonna, you know, kind of
actually scary. Through. Sci-fi actually scares me more than sci-fi horror scares me the most, because I feel like some of that shit could happen, and how people react to it is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, that's an underrated trilogy, bro. Like I've mentioned this to so many people. Like people know the titles, and I feel like those are titles that people recognize but may have not seen. And I'm like, you need to watch these movies.
Well, if they haven't seen it, they'll call it the Quatermass instead of the Quatermass.
Yeah, the Quatermass. Yeah, and that's the thing. And like, and if you watch these films, you'll see where a lot of films got some ideas from, and they kind of border from this. Like, they're very original.
Carpenter's work is for sure from that.
Absolutely. That's why I'm like, man, you kind of need to see the influences of where your favorite films are coming from, right? So, sure. Yeah, I highly recommend that trilogy. But that's really funny that you brought that up. It's crazy to me.
Speaking of Naschy, did you see the Frenchman's Garden? What is it called?
Yeah, the Frenchman's Garden. So that's actually one film that I obviously pulled out, but I have not seen. I grabbed that when Mondo put it out.
You'll love it.
I know I've been wanting to watch it.
It's great in it.
I was going to review that film, I think, for, I don't know, maybe it was last year when for 31, but I ended up forgetting about it, because I really need to write things down, because I always have it in my mind, and I'm like,
I'll be shocked if it's not a 4 out of 5 for at least. I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and I had never seen it before. You've seen more Naschy than me. I haven't seen all the werewolf movies. I've seen like 4 or 5 of them, maybe 4, but I haven't seen all of them. But I love them. I like Night of the Werewolf is fucking awesome. That movie's that made my top 25 of 81, and 81's in a competitive year.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's so many Naschy films. That dude is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated like foreign actor slash filmmaker of all time. Like the dude has a really good cast, and he did a lot of other types of films too that I haven't. It's more I watch more of the genre films, but he has a lot. He did a lot.
Good. Yeah,
so,
he's great. Well, we better get out of here. I don't think this will ever end.
Yeah, that was okay. Just what I did. What I was like thinking to myself, going, I would love to tackle the whole Daninsky, like his werewolf.
The werewolf. Vladimir Daninsky. Yeah.
So there's like 13 official films, but there's only 12 that are actually because one of them's lost. I think the second film that they did.
Well, a lot of people say that movie might have never existed.
I know, and that's the weird history about that film. So in theory, there's only like 12, and I think pretty much all of them have releases except for one. I think there's one film that doesn't have a DVD or a Blu-ray. I could be wrong.
So Curse of the Devil just got a Blu-ray, so that's finally out, or a 4K. Fury of the Wolfman would be the first one, right? And that one got a release from Code Red. Is that the first one? So Assignment Terror is one of the early ones. That's just another one. And Night of the Werewolf, Vampire Woman, the Yeti, that one has a release. So I'd have to go to the Beast with the Magic Sword, and then we have ones that came out like later, like Fred Olen Lay did one, Olen Ray, and I don't know if those are official or not. I don't think there's. If you count those, I think we get to 13, but before that, we might only be at 8 or 9.
Yeah, I that's where it kind of gets a little bit conflicted because you might be right. Like it's like 9 or 10, but like is it the Werewolf of the Amazon? I think that was like the 2005 one. I've seen that on lists as being an official one because he does play the Daninsky character in it. I think I can't remember. I've seen it once before.
You see Howl of the Devil too, and that's not one. That one's wacky. You've seen that one, right?
Yeah.
That one's just like him just being like, I didn't get to play this monster yet, so let me just jump in this scene real quick. I love that movie, but that's what he's doing. He's like, I didn't get to play Dr. Jekyll. He's just Dr. Jekyll for a second.
So true. Yeah, I had like pulled it out, and like I pulled out Inquisition again, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't seen it in years. Like I looked on my letterbox, and because I started like 7 years ago, so I haven't watched it in 7 years. I'm like, I've seen it before. It's crazy, but I love that movie, so I need to watch that, get it all logged up, because I only started logging shit from when I started Letterboxd.
Me too, because I refuse to do it otherwise. I didn't want to. Like, I want to know if I haven't seen this movie in 8 years.
That's exactly where I'm at too, and I'm like, so I pulled out all the ones I haven't even I'm like, man, there is a bunch in there I haven't seen before. I seen Panic Peaks years ago, but it's still fucking sealed. I haven't even watched it since it came out.
I've seen that.
It's crazy. I know. And I remember really liking it, but I've had it on the shelf for I don't know how many years it's been since Mondo put it out.
I need to rewatch Horror Rises from the Tomb, because that was an early one I saw and I really liked it, but I only gave it a 7, and I guarantee if I go back that would be like an 8.5. I don't know.
I love that movie. That's one of my favorites. I love that one.
It was so fast paced. It was just so entertaining, and just like, I like his movies because they have like the Gothic Hammer style in them, and then there's just nudity and gore. So I'm like, I'm getting everything in this. Like, it has everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Italian movies do that too. That's why I like those so much, just because they give you that thick atmosphere, but they also deliver like on great special effects.
I love The Mummy's Revenge too. That movie's fun.
That one's the best mummy movie. Like, I'm telling people, it's like, people are like, there's mummies are great in movies in small doses, but an entire mummy movie and pull it off really well is hard to do. The Hammer's Mummy from '59 is pretty cool. The sequels, not so much. Not so much. But then that fucking the Mummy's Revenge is really good because he's like a juggernaut. He's like the classic mummy, and he's just like ripping motherfuckers apart.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to the guys on 22 Shots. I was like, man, this Nashi film's awesome, but you guys got to check this out. It's like totally underrated. Never hear anyone talk about it, but I'm like one of those weird, like Boris Karloff is like one of my favorites of all time, but I love. And we just did not a spoiler, but we just did a top 10 in 1959, and The Mummy may or may not have made it.
How could it not be in there? That and The Hound of Baskerville. I'm looking at 59. I'm like, those guys both make my list. If you count Hounds is like kind of not a horror, but it is.
It's, dude, Peter Cushing. We did talk about it on the Top 10 show of how Peter Cushing played that character of Sherlock Holmes so fucking good. It's amazing that he didn't end up doing it way more.
I agree. I love that Christopher Lee's in that too as Lord Henry. He's great in that.
Yeah, I mean, those two were always in film. But
I think it is. I've seen like 3 or 4 versions of that fucking movie.
Sir Henry.
Sir Henry, yeah.
But yeah, but it's Peter Cushing's movie though. Like, he takes that character so serious. It's crazy when you watch it how fucking serious and how into that role he is. You honestly truly believe he's Sherlock Holmes. It's crazy. It's actually wild to watch a performance.
If you ever watch Peter Cushing, someone pointed it out to me. My friend Brandon Salkale pointed this out. He said, if you ever watch Peter Cushing, he's so much more invested when he has a prop. and he has that little pipe. So like you'll see like Peter Cushing pick up props all the time, and he's totally invested in the character when he has a prop. So like Sherlock Holmes has always got his fucking hat, he's got his pipe. So that's just such a great thing. If you want to be an actor, like, because you ever watch an actor when he doesn't have anything in his hands?
Oh, and this is coming from an actor's perspective too, right?
Like they just don't know what to do with their fucking hands. Like I remember watching The Getaway, which is a great movie, and Ben Johnson's in that movie, one of my favorite actors, great actor. And like his hands are down by his knees, and they're just like nervous. I can tell they're nervous because he wants something in his hands. He wants to be able to do something with his hands. But when your hands are just hanging there, and when you're an actor, you start thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do with my hands? If you can't do anything with your hands, it's just like it's awkward being relaxed without having something to fidget with. Because I think people fidget more than people think they do. You know what I mean? So like having a little prop like a pipe or something, I think it helps out a lot of those actors. But
yeah, it completely makes sense though. It really does, because when you have something in your hand, it kind of gives you something to refocus on. Like you're in the moment, but like you also have this
dramatic effect too. You say a line and then you take a hit of the pipe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like, yeah, he's great at that kind of shit. But we're talking about The Mummy as the funniest line, one of the funniest lines in there in the beginning, because he's doing the whole like archaeological dig with his father, and these motherfuckers like 45, 50 already, and like he breaks his leg, but he decides to work through it, and they're like, he's such a young man, he'll be crippled. It's like, Peter Cushing, a young man, get the fuck out of here. It's like, it's the funniest line in the whole movie. Me and Jeremy are like, what? He's gonna cripple himself for life. He's like, his dad's 100 and he's like 70 already.
Yeah, it's like that Seinfeld episode where they got the three generations, but the youngest one's like 75. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This makes no sense.
Dude, I like that. I'm a big Hammer fan, though. You know that. Even like the ones that like I rate like 6s, I'm like, I'd watch this anytime. Like, and the problem with watching it is like when I did all those Hammer movies, I watched 2 a week for like a year. It's like that's just it fucks your head up.
Yeah,
it's too much.
I'm a huge Hammer fan too. Huge. I mean, I love the whole, like, Christopher Lee is actually my favorite Dracula. Like, I love those films. Even like
best Dracula.
He's just so menacing, but like even in the films where he's like, you know, Dracula AD, where he's like in it for like 4 minutes, he's still awesome. The whole movie
Satanic Rites of Dracula, he's in it for 3.5 seconds, and he has that terrible accent half of it.
I know, it's so bizarre, and it still works for me. But like, I love the Frankenstein films too. Like, against Peter Cushing's fucking awesome. But like, dude, like the Hammer franchises were amazing.
They're cool.
They were so good.
Except the Mummy franchise is not great. Yeah, the second Mummy is doo-doo butter. When you watch that second Mummy, the Mummy looks like Winnie the Pooh wrapped up. I
can't even remember it.
Dude, watch it. Dumpy ass Mummy is what we kept calling him. Like, he looks like Winnie the Pooh wrapped up, and he's just like all fat. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
I'm surprised that they never tackled like doing the Wolfman or, you know, Creature, like all the other Universal characters and stuff like that. I'm actually quite surprised, but.
Well, I'll let you get out of here, all right?
Okay. I
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. All right. Thanks for having me on. I'll definitely be down for doing something in 83.
For sure.
That's cool, man. So just...
Yeah, 83 is not as strong as 82, though.
Just bring something to the table, man. Just, you know, put it in alliance with what Moodz would like. That kind of... You'll find something. I'll find something.
All right. See you.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Deuces.
What are you doing here?
I saw the fire.
It's over. The witch is dead, Mary. She's gone. We're safe.
You would have been if the witch had been home.
No!
I will not die!
You can't kill me! You can't kill me! You can't kill me! I'll never die! You can't kill me!
You will not die! You do not have the power to destroy me!